What's up guys, and welcome to another MyoBrain education video. As you can see, the topic of this video is going to be caffeine. This is going to be a pretty short and sweet video, but again, something that I think is really important to utilize during the 2017 CrossFit Open. If you're not doing the CrossFit Open, you're not doing CrossFit, you still can get some general ideas of kind of how caffeine works, okay? So this will be the rundown of the video. The first part, we're gonna go over just the general benefits of caffeine, so how it affects both aerobic activity and anaerobic activity. Second part will be the proper dose of caffeine and also the proper timing of caffeine. And then lastly, the third part, we're gonna be kind of specifically how to use caffeine during the CrossFit Open, not just maybe pre-workout or on those open days, but actually throughout the course of your entire week. All right, so let's jump into the actual benefits of caffeine in the several different ways we'll see here. So the first one going to be just very pure long endurance time trials. So think about this in the 30 minutes or greater category. A lot of the research on caffeine is actually with the longer endurance events on things like cycling and running. And there will be a study posted in the description box of this video for each one of these categories, kind of showing how it was beneficial to those athletes. Okay, so pretty simply in the long endurance stuff, obviously you're running like say a marathon and it took you 3 hours and 20 minutes. You took some caffeine and you may do it in 3 hours and 15 minutes, right? It's just gonna help you sustain whatever your maximal pace is for a longer period of time in the long endurance events, okay? All right, then the second section we have here is this mid anaerobic effort. So your anaerobic metabolism will start to fade off around 2 minutes. That will depend on how trained you are, your muscle fibers, things like that. But say 2 minutes is a good ballpark to shoot for. So we're looking at something like a 2K row lasting 7 to 10 minutes. You know, that may be 30-40% anaerobic and then kind of kick into your aerobic system. Obviously, we do an activity, it's never purely aerobic or purely anaerobic. It's always kind of just a little bit, a percentage-wise of what metabolism we're using the most. So, but again, for a lot of the mid-anaerobic work, the study I posted below is a 2K row. They saw improved times on this 2K row for both men and women. So again, that is about a 7 to 10 minute race for those people, okay? Then lastly, we kind of have the max effort, okay? So it kind of increases your ability to do things like powerlifting, weightlifting, sprints, and also jumps. So a big part of this, I see the neurological effect of caffeine. So same thing like people get from having it first thing in the morning, now they're no longer tired. If you can unrack a 500-pound squat and that perceived exertion is lower, you're more likely to hit it. Okay, so it's not actually making you stronger, right? But neurologically, you're gonna perceive that effort as a little bit easier, right? So powerlifting and weightlifting, that's very beneficial. And things for like sprints and jumps, same kind of thing. Your neurological system, kind of your nervous system is more primed, ready to go for that maximal effort, okay? Especially things if you're actually like sleep deprived or tired, this can be a huge benefit just to, again, getting your nervous system ramped up a bit. All right, so now we kind of like a foundational knowledge of how caffeine actually can benefit our performance. Let's talk about the dosing and go into the timing of caffeine, okay? So the dosing or the amount is gonna depend on your gender. Starting off here, I have kind of what they use a lot in the research, which is this number of 6 to 8 milligrams per kilogram. And this is a very, very, very high number. For example, that would be about 480 milligrams of caffeine for my body weight. I'm a little bit under 80 kilos, or about 175 pounds currently. So again, this is a very high caffeine intake. I feel like I'm a person who responds well to caffeine, but I personally know that even if I go in the middle or even the top end of my suggested range, which are more conservative in the research, I've had nights where I've had restless sleep or just like overly jittery in the gym from too much caffeine. So again, even though this is what the bulk of the research says is effective to increase your performance, I really just don't recommend this from a practical standpoint. Again, you can do it if you want to. I'm not your physician, obviously, so if you want to do that 6 to 8 milligrams per kilogram, you're up to do that, but these are my recommendations for what you actually should do, okay? So for males, I like between 200 and 400 milligrams of caffeine. Again, you're gonna pick this kind of depending on how well you tolerate caffeine, how often you have it, and we'll go into that in the practical section a little bit more. Females slightly less, 100 to 300 milligrams. There's no, as far as my knowledge goes, difference in like a gender response to caffeine. This is kind of predicated on body size, right? Most women are smaller than men for their body weight. So I would just kind of scale that appropriately. But again, if you're a bigger woman who weighs like 165, 175 and an athlete, you may be able to be up here on this top end of your range. If you're a small guy, you weigh $150, $160, you may be in the smaller end of this range. So again, just kind of monitor that with how big you are, what your tolerance is to caffeine, how often you take it, your experience levels, and those things. The timing thing is pretty simple. I really just want roughly 1 hour prior to the start of your event. Okay, so a lot of people do end up messing this timing part up. If I had a nickel for every time I saw someone like drink their pre-workout in the gym and then like go start their warm-up or go start their workout thinking it's going to have like an immediate effect on them, I'd have a lot of nickels. Okay, so again, probably looking at 30 minutes before you even leave for the gym, or maybe on the way to your gym if you're going to like do a very, very long warm-up. But again, if you plan on like hitting your first warm-up sets for squats at 5:20 and you get to the gym at 5 o'clock, don't take your pre-workout at 4:55, right? Because again, then you're only going to really get the benefit of caffeine. Caffeine will kind of peak in your blood within an hour. That may be only on your assistance work you're getting that benefit, right? So again, most of us are prioritizing our workouts where the most important things are up front. You want to make sure caffeine is peaked in your blood to do that. Okay, so again, try to do that 1 hour mark the best that you can. Caffeine will get in your blood around 30 minutes, but again, it's not going to peak for about an hour. All right, now so let's wrap up with some practical use of caffeine. Okay, so probably the most important thing to think about with caffeine, and most people are very aware of this, is the less often you can use it, the better outcome you're going to have, right? So again, the more sensitive to the effect of caffeine you can be, the more robust that performance benefit's gonna be, okay? So if you always take 200 milligrams of caffeine 5 days a week for an entire year, you're not really gonna get that same boost in energy, those same neurological effects, those same endurance effects as you would if you were to taper it around a little bit, okay? And then second part is choose your caffeine intake wisely, okay? This goes to be more of an athletic thing. If you're a person who likes drinking coffee and diet soda, again, that's gonna get in the way a little bit of how robust of effect it's gonna be pre-workout. If you work out at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and you have some caffeine in the morning, obviously that's not really affecting your workouts, but it is affecting your sensitivity to when you take it later on. So say if you're gonna take it at 7 o'clock in the morning with a cup of coffee, and then take a pre-workout drink at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, now you're just less sensitive to that, right? Because you've already had some caffeine there, so that robust, kind of those effects will be diminished a little bit, okay? So on this choose wisely thing, I'll use actually the CrossFit Open as a good way to think about how you can do this in your own workouts, okay? So again, most people I think are probably gonna test the workouts on Friday, so let's just assume you're doing that. Let's also assume this is gonna be a male, just because I'm a male and it's an easy example for me. So again, obviously the emphasis of our week is on Friday. If you're a power lifter, this can be the same thing. If your max out day is on Saturday, just put your head as a CrossFitter for 2 minutes, okay? So, but the emphasis, most important workout of the day is on Friday for everyone doing the CrossFit Open right now. So again, we want to kind of look at our caffeine around that to see how we can maximally do it, okay? So let's say I'm an average male, kind of what I put on there was, again, 200 to 400 milligrams was the range, okay? So again, determine who you are. If you're a person that responds well to caffeine, you could be at the 400 mark. But for the sake of averages, I'm gonna use 300, did not leave myself enough room here, 300 milligrams on my test day, okay? That's gonna be the most caffeine I use the entire week, because obviously the most emphasis for me to perform well, okay? Now let's kind of work a little bit backwards from that. So these O's stand for off days, okay? I'm not gonna say like you can't have caffeine at all on an off day, but let's just say try to minimize it. So let's just have like 1 cup of coffee, okay? 1 cup of coffee generally has about 100 milligrams, like 1 8-ounce cup of coffee. So again, you're trying to have like a small cup of coffee on your non-training days. Again, understand You don't really need like an energy boost. So try to minimize the monsters and the afternoon coffees. Hopefully you're not taking a pre-workout product on your off days or active recovery days. So again, you're kind of periodizing that caffeine intake so you're more sensitive around your workouts, okay? This E here is called like an easy day, maybe an active recovery day, or bodybuilding work. If you're a CrossFitter, still maybe 100 milligrams, right? You shouldn't need to like get up and get hyped and have a lot of extra energy to do like easy rowing intervals or even like a decently intense run. You probably could still be fine with minimizing that here, okay? Let's talk about these other days early in the week. So this H, and M just stand for hard, moderate. And assuming too, these hard days should probably be priorities for yourself. So this is why you kind of choose wisely as well, regardless of who you are as an athlete. So CrossFit's very easy to do this in. Let's say, again, assuming you're not retesting the open workouts, or even if this was a normal training week for you, and Friday was your hardest day, right? Think of it that way, even if it's outside of the open. They say this Monday is a hard day, but it's also like things you suck at, right? So for me, it'd be like Olympic weightlifting, like heavy snatches, jerks, things like that. If it's things you're bad at, so it's high priority, and it's a hard day, this could just as easily be your most important day of the week. So 200 to 300 here, right? Kind of depending on how difficult it was, okay? Same thing for Tuesday. Maybe Tuesday isn't as high a priority, but it's still really, really hard, or vice versa. It's really high priority, but it's more the things you're a little bit good at. So I would still do about 200 milligrams there. If it's not gonna be as hard as Monday, as important as Friday, right, but you're still gonna use some. And then same thing, Wednesday, if it's a moderate day, I would use something like 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine. Okay, so you're kind of just tapering it based on how important the workout is for you and how intense your workouts are for you. Again, this still has caffeine on all days of the week, but again, this way, obviously your competition day, if you're a CrossFitter doing it on Friday, you have the most amount of caffeine. And on maybe like your most important training day of the week right now, you're still having 200 to 300, right? You can kind of engage that with how important that is, how important the open is to you, whatever, okay? So again, that's kind of think about how you could not just use it in the context of CrossFit, right, or CrossFit Open right now, but even if you were a weightlifter or a power lifter, same thing. If these were like your hypertrophy days, you can do maybe 200 milligrams of caffeine here, and this is like your super heavy squat bench day, you can use more here, right? So remember, priorities and intensities will be the main thing that dictate how much you use, and then try to, again, not eliminate it. If you can't eliminate it, that's better, obviously, but I'm not gonna recommend that from a practical standpoint, but try to minimize it when you don't really need it. So easy days, off days, try to stay away from as much as possible. And then on these are the more moderate days, not high priority days, again, don't think that just because you're working out, you need a full scoop of your pre-workout, or you need a full 300 milligrams because you always do that, right? The goal is to maximize the effect of it. So, right, if you take 300 milligrams on Wednesday on a moderate day, maybe you do like 6 seconds faster and a workout really doesn't matter to you that much. And then you do the same effect on Friday, and now you improve maybe by 4 seconds in that workout. But if you would have been more sensitive to your caffeine, you could have done 5 seconds faster than that. So maybe 9 seconds faster, which could be, again, a bigger priority for you. Okay, so that's kind of the nuts and the bolts with caffeine, guys. As always, let me know if you have any questions with all that stuff via email or the Facebook group, whatever's convenient for you guys. And thanks for watching.